Chicago landlords cannot take this anymore. South Loop apartment building owner now faces $80 million in foreclosures. Now, is this a bad building? Absolutely not. This is one of the nicer buildings in Chicago. And just look at the building itself. I mean, floor-to-ceiling windows, all glass. Most of the units have balconies. Probably pretty good views of Chicago. This is not some building in a run-down place. This is one of the nicer apartment buildings for rent in Chicago. Zoom a little bit further out, you're pretty close to the Loop area next to the Field Museum and all that kind of stuff. And here's what the building looks like from the outside. An absolutely gorgeous apartment building. I would love to live here. I love these floor-to-ceiling windows. And if you get some of the top floors, you probably get some pretty decent views of many of the buildings in Chicago. But guess what? They're foreclosing. What's going on here? And can they even sell it? Because many times these housing guys will rather sell their building than go into foreclosure. Because if you go into foreclosure, there's a lot more paperwork and also hurts your future business. And lastly, you're not going to be making a lot of money. And of course, I'm pretty sure this building owner has tried to sell their apartment building, but nobody wants to buy it. In fact, the stringent laws of Chicago and the new taxes that are in place pretty much destroyed every single commercial real estate purchase, and also large apartments as well. Apparently now if you buy commercial real estate or any real estate in Chicago, you gotta pay a 1 to 5% stamp duty fee, which is crazy because those stamp duty fees are generally in place for cities that have a lot of real estate demand. Chicago real estate is dropping like a rock, with many rich people will rather foreclose on their building than try to sell it, because some of these buildings are literally selling for pennies on the dollar. Now, quiz question. This building here, 300 West Adams Street, it's a 12-story office tower. You got 1 to 2 floors of retail, a lot of good office space. This is a pretty good building in a corner unit in the Loop area. Now, let's guess the price. How much do you think this building recently sold for? Maybe 20 million? Maybe 30 million? I mean, it's a pretty fat building. Let's just say $50 million. They sold it for just $4 million bucks. Negative 89% since the pandemic. You heard that right. A building this fat sold for $4 million measly dollars. Guys, $4 million in like Sydney, Australia gets you like a 3-bedroom penthouse, and it's not even that great of a penthouse. But apparently Chicago could get yourself a whole entire building on a corner lot. This is how bad Chicago real estate is getting. And one of the biggest reasons why is the city is literally running themselves to the ground. Crime is rampant. You also have this migrant situation, which pretty much Chicago is spending all their tax dollars on. They spend over $100 million of taxpayer money just for meals for migrants. And they're footing bills for hundreds of thousands of meals. Now, here's the thing. Chicago didn't actually have to be a sanctuary city, but Mayor Brandon Johnson decided to be a sanctuary city. And now every single business owner is mad. Businesses are moving out. Companies are moving out. People who live in Chicago moving out. The rich are moving out, and even the middle class are being squeezed out. Even having some of the recreational space being opted into just homeless shelters and migrant shelters. Guys, Chicago would have been okay if they just maybe took in a few thousand migrants. But no, they took in almost 50,000. And also Chicago crime rate is so high, they never addressed the issue. This is why Chicago has the infamous nickname Chirac for a reason. Because this place is almost like a war zone, guys. Amazing architecture, one of the prettiest downtowns in America, but it's basically like Gotham City, with crime rates through the roof. And if you look at this, Chicago's financial center is no longer in existence. It's already being threatened by $800 million in new taxes by Brandon Johnson. And apparently Brandon Johnson did something even worse, because one of the lifeblood of Chicago and their trade is selling and buying commercial real estate. Now, obviously, commercial real estate right now is pretty bad. And they also implemented, in the beginning video, I said the same thing, a new tax. So when you try to sell a building and somebody wants to buy, they got to pay like a 3.5% tax on a building, which is ludicrous. Nobody wants to do it. Chicago real estate is already down in the dumps. Now, here's the thing. If Chicago real estate was popping off, everyone wants to buy it from all around the world. Putting like a 5% tax on the buyer, they don't care. They'll still buy it, right? Singapore has a 60% stamp duty fee, and they still buy the buildings because it's such a nice place. There's virtually no homelessness. There's virtually no crime. It's a powerful economics hub. What about Chicago? High crime, high homelessness, migrants everywhere. Chicago doesn't even know what in the world they're doing. And commercial real estate is down in the dumps. Companies are moving out, workers are moving out, and they're adding a tax if you want to buy commercial real estate. Almost feels like there should be an incentive for people to buy commercial real estate because commercial real estate is basically down in the gutter right now. And even the richest man in Illinois is no longer the richest man in Illinois because they moved to Florida. Ken Griffin is taking his $25 billion fortune and trading from Citadel to Miami after slamming Chicago's rising crime rate, saying that the Sunshine State embodies the American dream, but no longer. Now, Ken Griffin, say what you will, but this guy's penthouse in Chicago got shot up. Imagine you buy like a very high-end penthouse in Chicago, right? And you buy a high-end penthouse because you want to live in a safe area. But Chicago's crime is so rampant, even the nicer areas now are experiencing some of the most intensive crime. Like, this dude is not going to the trenches of Chicago. He's probably staying at the very nice areas, and even the nice areas, okay, so the most expensive buildings are experiencing high crime. Like his lobby, his penthouse got shot up. Imagine that. Imagine you spend like over $30 million on a penthouse in Chicago just to wake up one morning, go downstairs and have bullet holes in your front lobby. I mean, you're nowhere you're safe in Chicago. And Citadel is like a massive trading firm. It's a shame because Chicago has always been like a massive financial hub in the United States. This is one of the hotter areas. This is not some crappy little city. This is a city that's up there with New York, but now several of the real estate pieces are going down the drain. Like units like this, like 3,700 square feet, high-end penthouse for just $4.5 million. Guys, if you go to places like Singapore, go to places like Shanghai, Manhattan, Sydney, Australia, the UAE, $3,700 for one of the best buildings in the city is not going to be $4.5 million. It's going to be like 15 to 20 million bucks. Just shows you how bad Chicago is getting. They're in no way are they ever selling this building or this condo. So you kind of get the idea. The real estate situation in Chicago is pretty bad. This is why South Loop apartment owner is facing this foreclosure, because many other tenants who used to live here are no longer here. And what's even worse is this is a newly built building. This building is not old. It's actually very new. But with so many people leaving the Chicago area, they have no choice but go to foreclosure. They can't even sell this building and make like the bare minimum of their money invested back because there's no buyers. Nobody wants to buy here. You have $80 million, $90 million, $100 million. Buy something else in a different city. And some people even say that if I have $200, $300 million to blow on real estate, I'll just buy a CD. Get that juicy 5% per year. So thanks for watching, guys. Comment below, and before I leave, check out the private Discord server. Patreon link below for some awesome trades. And we're trading live every single day. Trade with us, guys. Make some money with us. We're having a pretty good time. See you later.